right, so I told you that Wesley Kagan, he's been on the show before, and he's done something now ill-advisable, questionable, all sorts of things, which is why I've decided to invite him back on the show. Wesley Kagan, my guest, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, and I want to go on record in saying that pretty much all I do is ill-advised, so there's that.
Disclaimer, absolutely, right there. You know, at the beginning of this show, at least on the radio, there's a disclaimer. It says, opinions are that of the host and do not reflect that of Salem Media, blah, 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 blah. Questionable mechanical advice is included free of charge. That is actually in my disclaimer on this show. So, that, like, FCC required, that is in there. So, anyway, so Wesley, what you did is twofold, okay? And by the way, I should introduce you for people who are joining me on the podcast who maybe haven't listened to the episodes with you on the show. You're a YouTuber. You've got 295 trillion subscribers.
Exactly correct.
Yeah. Yep. And
a lot more outer space presence than one might realize, frankly.
Really? I wouldn't have imagined that. But so, and you do automotive content on YouTube, but I say automotive a little more loosely because you're more on the engineering side of things with it.
Sure. I throw stuff at the wall and I see what sticks. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I don't know why I'm replying like I'm on trial here. Yes, to the best of my knowledge.
Yes,
that's correct.
Yeah, yes. So you do that, and you've had many millions of views on some of your automotive shenanigans and escapades. You built a tube car with a Porsche engine, which now has a V12, as I understand.
Yeah, it's all sitting in a pile slightly out of frame, but yes.
Nice. I love it. ITBs on the V12 too. You know, I'm a sucker for ITBs. Yep. So
yeah.
Now, Wesley.
So am I. I decided to build my own, and nobody should ever do that ever. So I'm right there with you.
That sounds terrible. And now, granted, you are out ITBing me by threefold, because I've got, sitting here in the garage studio, the A86 is next to me. You can't quite see it on camera. It's got ITBs on it. It's got 4 of them. You have 12, which does make me feel slightly inadequate, only a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's just... The problem with 12 is that you have to buy 12 of them and also install 12 of them and deal with fuel management on 12 of them.
You have to balance 12 of them, don't you?
Oh, don't even. There's an entire saga.
I'm not jealous anymore, actually. I take it back.
No, you shouldn't be. Yeah, no, it's, No, it's terrible. Yeah.
So the latest thing that you've done, which definitely conforms to the disclaimer that runs on the front of this show, on the radio at least. You bought a British car.
I did, yes.
But not just any British car. Why is this one? Why is this one special?
Well, this is the most expensive production car. I should give that disclaimer. Production car that you could buy in 1993. And adjusted for inflation, it's like $611,000. But I bought a 1993 Bentley Continental R, which they made very few of, and was at a point in time in which Bentley was being kept alive almost exclusively by the Sultan of Brunei buying weird one-off cars. And my particular example is painted in a custom Rolls-Royce color, ordered into Rolls-Royce of Beverly Hills. And I'm saying all of this to say that I paid significantly less than the original sticker price for this car. And you could go out and buy a very nice certified pre-owned Civic or not certified pre-owned Civic for more than I paid for this particular car.
Okay. So not only did you buy a British car, you bought an old British car. Not only was it an old British car, it's a special, expensive old British car.
Yes. And I should clarify that I've owned, I'm going to say this off the top of my head and I might change it later, 5 British cars. I've owned 2 MGBs, one of which the hood flew open on the drive home, the other which did not have much of a clutch slave cylinder. So you just really had to pump the clutch at the stoplight. I've owned a Jaguar XJS, which became a coffee table. And I owned a 1977 Rolls-Royce that caught on fire on the test drive.
I was just about to say, I remember your Rolls-Royce did catch fire.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I can't say that I have the best luck with British cars. Oh, I owned an E-Type, no, not an E-Type, an F-Type Jaguar for like a year. I daily drove a Jaguar Land Rover product for a year. That one was the one that I had the best luck with. So I was like, this is an example for the rest. And obviously my poor relationship with British cars is over. So here we are.
Okay. And again, give me what was that number brand new? Because while you were talking here, I was pulling up a inflation calculator.
Yeah. So adjusted for inflation, $611,000. I believe it was $275,000 in 1993. And I'm sure there'll be somebody in the comments that'll be like, actually, depending on options, and like,
I'm looking at roughly, it right here. 610. If we assume 275 even, $610,509.52. Which, by the way, is
and it's also important to know that this was ordered into Beverly Hills Rolls-Royce. So for all of the famous people that listen to this radio show, which I know there are many, many famous people that listen.
Actually, it's all of them. That's the only people who listen to my show.
I do, I'm very surprised because it's Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend and your show that pop up under the celebrity category on my Spotify.
And this show is now 8th in automotive in South Korea.
Which, I mean, come on, Joe Rogan, eat your heart out. Is he 8th in Korea? Hell no.
And I don't speak a lick of Korean, but I'm sure they all think I do. Maybe my English is so bad that they actually think I'm speaking Korean. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a decent option. No. So yeah, I bought a British car. It's great in every single way, and I have no notes whatsoever. Believe it or not, everything works perfectly on it.
No, it doesn't.
There's not a single issue.
No, it doesn't. And
it doesn't leak oil. And I'm lying through my teeth right now for all of those because it's looking right at me. This is a hostage situation at a certain point.
What you're saying is it's not like this is not a consensual relationship between you and the car at this point. It's holding you hostage.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's a Stockholm syndrome thing. It absolutely is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As it is, I think, with anyone who owns a aging, heavily depreciated British car. Before we talk about what things have been like with it, how much is it worth today?
Okay. Nice examples. Which I want to go on record in saying that I've never bought a nice example of anything, let alone a project car. A nice low mileage example with all of the things taken care of, could be an $80,000 to $90,000 car.
That's optimistic.
This one, yeah, this one, has 140,000 miles on it, which is not low mileage in the Bentley world. This has some paint issues. This has a few things that, I actually said this in a video that all of the lights in the dash are on, and I'm not sure whether that's a result of the LCD being broken or if everything on the car is wrong. It is also important to note that the only lights not on the dash are the backlight for the gauges. So driving at night is just really a fun game of guess who.
Okay, so you have to kind of like feel the gauges out by braille, basically, right?
Yeah, okay. Lucas Prince of Darkness is really living up to their name at this point in time.
You could go with that. I was going to say like it's like driving as Stevie Wonder, but I guess, yeah, you could go there too.
Well, I don't want to get in trouble with the Stevie Wonder estate. That's my own thing. I don't want to, invoke litigation in this particular matter. And I.
So the answer, how much is it worth now? Cliffhanger. We got to go to a break. We're going to be right back here on Automotive ADHD.
the finer things in life. Happily, some are affordable, like Grey Poupon Dijon mustard. Grey Poupon is so fine, it's even made with white wine. Its original French Dijon recipe adds distinctive flavor to beef, pork, and poultry, salad dressing and sauces, and of course, sandwiches. So enjoy one of life's finer pleasures.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? But of course.
Grey Poupon. It even has wine.
This is Automotive ADHD with Matt West.
All right, so we're continuing some more misguided automotive adventures. I think adventure is even, that's being a little too optimistic here. Of course, you're listening to the Automotive ADHD show. I'm your host, Matt West, and joining me right now is Wesley Kagan. He's a YouTuber. He's a guy who bought, of all things, a British car. He's owned several British cars. And this is if you're just joining us, he bought the most expensive production car in the world from 1993. And Wesley, we left people off with a little bit of a cliffhanger, which is, how much is it worth today?
If I could get a drum roll, please.
Oh, we got it.
Okay. About 18 grand, depending on who you ask. This one was about 18 grand.
18 grand.
Plus shipping.
So
Sure.
That means that it went from, I have the inflation calculator here. I have the math.
Yeah.
That means that it went from being adjusted for inflation, 18 grand. You went from $610,000 adjusted for inflation in 2025 dollars, $610,000 to $18,000. That's where we're at right now.
So like roughly 600 grand, which I'm no math talking guy, but isn't that, and with 100,000 miles, isn't that $6 a mile?
Yeah, that's right around
We should
there.
do it. We should double it. I might be missing a zero there, but now that we're talking about it.
No, I think
Is that,
you know what? I mean, here's the thing. What we know is it lost a lot of value.
yeah.
A little. Now, granted, you're in theory on the positive end of this because you purchased it post depreciation. But that's
Ideally,
also being optimistic because you now own the most heavily depreciated British car in the world, possibly.
And a British car that I think truly the only feasible means of ownership is being able to make content out of it, because nobody in their right mind should own one of these cars and maintain it. Like it's not easy to maintain. I do all of my own work and I've built things and cars from the ground up. This is an incredibly difficult car to work on because everything is so just particular about it all. And like this car hasn't been in rust. This car hasn't been particularly abused. It's just, it was designed to be worked on by people who don't care about a labor rate. There's an entire section of the electronics in this electrical manual that comes with the workshop manual that is theoretical wiring. I'm not making that up. Go to look in your 6000 series Bentley workshop manual and you'll find a theoretical wiring section. I don't know why I'm doing Doug DeMuro voice at this point in time, but that's how outlandish this actually is.
Theoretical wiring. Theoretical
wiring.
Does the wiring exist in theory? Is that the notion here with the British wiring, that in theory, yes, it's wiring? Okay, so
I think it's more of this wiring could do this if it chooses to. It decides what it would like to. So
what it's really like then, and maybe my science knowledge is is not the best. But what you're saying is it's really like a quantum wiring. Like it either does exist or it doesn't exist at the same time.
It exists within a superimposed state dependent on the observation of the particle. Yeah, that's exactly correct. It's really Schrodinger's wiring at a certain point.
Schrodinger's wiring. Okay, so now that's not all that's wrong with British cars as a whole, and certainly not all that's wrong with this one. What have been some of the challenges working on this car already? I mean, you've got the YouTube video up on your channel right now. And of course, I'll give you a plug. Follow Wesley on YouTube at Wesley Kagan. And so you've got the video up there. People can see sort of your first experiences with the car. What's been the challenge so far?
Yeah, well, I mean, the saving grace of all of this is that I'm able to make content with this particular car. Otherwise, again, it really is a lot of work to keep this going. And the first thing, the moment that I pulled it into the garage, I unloaded it off the trailer and pulled it into the garage, is that the rear hydraulic struts, which is tied into the brake system like it is on all of this era of Rolls-Royce and Bentley, decided to leak all over the place and leaves a very nice trail of very expensive mineral oil wherever it goes. So the attempt to fix all of that ultimately ended up in getting QA1 coilovers put on the back of it and me teeing off the line. So the brakes are still a hydraulic, but we're changing that here pretty soon as well because I don't like it. That's it. That's the only reason. It actually, the car stops well right now. There's 2 calipers on the front disc. We don't have, my therapist is already billing a whole lot to unpack why there are 2 calipers on the front of this car, but it is what it is. Just a whole lot of, this car came out in 1993, but everything about it feels like it was built in 1973. It really is quite entertaining because of that.
So, and stepping back to the QA1 coilovers here, are you telling me that you can just go on QA1's website and be like, yes, I would like coilovers for a 1993 Bentley, please, and they'll send you a kit?
Absolutely not.
I figured.
To the point that I machined my own and ended up dealing with some spring rate things and stuff like that, basically replacing the hydraulic assister shocks that existed on this at the moment. No, there's a lot of things that I think on this car that I should not be a curator of this particular car. And I don't think I should be a curator of any cars because I do it in my own Wesley way. And that sometimes results in me using a CNC machine to machine coilovers for the back of a Bentley. So, yeah. So you've got this car now. It has coilovers on it. Presumably it does run and drive at this point, right? It does. It actually runs and drives great. I've actually put quite a bit of miles on this car, and nothing's broken yet out of the stuff that was already broken, which kind of freaks me out every time I drive it. Not gonna lie.
That's terrifying. But actually. Yeah. I think that it's probably because theoretical wiring can't actually catch fire because it's only theoretical.
You know what? I would find some wood to knock on as quickly as possible because if I burst into flames, I'm contacting you first.
You heard it here first on the Automotive ADHD show on the radio in Southern Colorado and online as a podcast and a video show, whatever you call a video podcast. Now, Wesley Kagan is my guest. And Wesley, what are the plans here for this car? Like, are you going to do a motor swap? Are you going to try to make it more reliable? What are you thinking of doing with it?
Look, I would love to keep this quite beautiful 6.75 liter turbocharged V8. I like it a lot. However, yeah, I'm going to motor swap it just because of who I am as a person and because of, previous 20 minutes that we've been talking about this, it's how it is. I'm looking at a few different things. I mean, the traditional LS swap is a tried and true classic. No matter what, I will say this, I will reveal this. No matter what, it's getting a manual transmission. which, I mean, it has to, I
Yeah.
mean, this is this is the R trim Continental, regardless that it's 5,800 pounds, it's still sporty, it has to be. No, like at this point, it definitely is getting a manual with a gated shifter. Other than that, I explored a couple of different options, and I'm keeping my options open. Again, LS is tried and true. The W12 that came in later Bentleys, that came in the Continental starting in 04 and just stopped getting used very recently. The Phaetons had them as well in non-twin turbo form. I considered one of those with a supercharger mounted on the top. I also considered the V10 diesel that they put in the Touareg? No, Taycan? Touareg, yeah.
Okay.
The VW Touareg, which everybody, especially, I mean, if you talk to VW techs, they just love that V10 diesel that's in those. This is incredible amounts of sarcasm, by the way. Because
they adore them, in fact.
I'm fascinated with that engine in a way that is probably a little bit unhealthy because there's no belts on that engine. There's no like serpentine belts or front, like there's no cam belts, nothing like that. It is entirely, there's no timing chain either or timing belts. It's all 100% gear driven, including gear driven 2-speed water cooled alternators, an entire valve train that's gear driven. It's okay. Honestly, it's fascinating. I love that motor. I do want to build something with it at some point in time.
But at some point, you would probably like this to be at least more reliable than the British engine that's already in it, right?
That's kind of the problem with a lot of the swaps is that, I'm trying to replace a reasonably reliable engine with notoriously problematic engines. And the other thing on the diesel is that Europe got the V12 version that I think ended up in a Le Mans car at some point in time as well. And for me to not do the V12 would be truly a travesty, which I have to wait around until a cheap V12 diesel made by Volkswagen comes around, and then the world will be a much better place.
I love it. So if you want to follow along with what Wesley is doing, if you want to see what he's ultimately going to swap into the most expensive car in the world from 1993, I guess you're going to have to follow him on YouTube. Like and subscribe, as they say in Wesley's industry.
Yeah, and follow me on Instagram and wherever your videos are sold.
And hopefully you're not paying anything for this video, at least. But hey, Wesley, thank you for joining me here on the Automotive ADHD show. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to see what happens with this thing.
I always appreciate coming on. Thanks.
I'm actually getting the popcorn ready because I'm going to watch it I might actually cook the popcorn on the burning husk of it. We'll see. Knock on wood.
Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, that's a pretty good strategy. Well, if nothing else, it makes for good content.
And on that, we're out of time here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to the Automotive ADHD show. Of course, my guest has been Wesley Kagan. Now, if you want to find more of this show, YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, Facebook, wherever fine shows and, mine are downloaded. And of course, catch it on the radio every single Saturday morning, Saturday at 9. We're actually on some other times, too. We re-air throughout the weekend now. More automotive content than you actually asked for. So I'm not sorry. We'll catch you next week right here on the Automotive ADHD show.